Good morning, Council. Good morning, Mr. Duren. Please be seated. Okay, just a few quick things before I bring the jury in. First of all, there was some discussion relative to the media access to the proceedings. We have attempted to try to clean up or to specify that during breaks that there would not be a live mic on. So I'm getting a nod from the back that that's and a thumbs up. So again, I just urge, thank you for that, number one. Number two, just in case there's any technical issue with that, I also encourage everyone to be mindful that during breaks that even though there's an intent and an ability to turn off the mic, there might be a situation where a mic is live. So I would just urge people to be mindful of that. Second, Attorney Duren, with respect to the two in-camera motions, I went back and I did grant those.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So I did.
I don't know that came through to us, but
Okay.
I appreciate you checking.
So I think medical records was September 3rd by my reckoning, and the CAC was also September 3rd. So if for some reason they didn't get to you, then there's your notice.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's anything in those that I missed, but I simply granted them as is. Next, with regard to the motion to reconsider, again, I'm denying the motion to reconsider. I've got a few more comments to make with respect to that. I did review the transcript again relative to the statements at issue. And so adopting the reasoning as proffered by the defendant, but also a few more comments in that regard. Specifically, the state is offering the defendant's statement to the police as part of the transcript and the video, which has already been litigated. Based upon my review of the statement, it does contain hearsay. We've already litigated, and we had a specific hearing on this 2 weeks ago, the proposed redactions to the statement, and I've already made my rulings in that regard. As part of that overall statement, and I specifically go to page 56 of that statement, Mr. Duren, in his comment to the police, indicated, I'm reading from line 21, and then she just said, no, comma, I'm staying here, comma, and I'm not leaving, period. That's at page 56, line 21 through 22. So the touchstone or the lodestar relative to my analysis in that regard goes back to Mr. Duren's rights under these proceedings relative to the right to present all proofs favorable and the general confrontation right relative to a statement such as that. So based upon that and looking at Rule 806, which for purposes of this proceeding, I will read into the record relative to 806, that when a hearsay statement has been admitted in evidence, the declarant's credibility may be attacked and then supported by any evidence that would be admissible for those purposes if the declarant had testified as a witness. The court may admit evidence of the declarant's inconsistent statement or conduct regardless of when it occurred or whether the declarant had an opportunity to explain or deny it. So again, with respect to Ms. Naffziger's statement, I believe that my ruling is that Ms. Duren has the right to challenge that statement, and I'm admitting it for credibility purposes on that, in that vein. Substantively, I'm also allowing it for now as evidence to the claim, as evidence in support of the claim of defense of others. However, I would also note for the record that I'm still waiting for further legal argument relative to the issue that was raised during the motions hearing 2 weeks ago, which we will continue to work on that, and we will have to have a hearing on that relative to the defendant's legal position, to put it in the simplest terms possible, as to whether you can kidnap your own kid. So we referenced that during the hearing 2 weeks ago as a legal proposition, not as a factual proposition, and that's something that needs to be returned to. I understand that there's a need to proceed with openings and the presentation of evidence before we get to the final jury instructions. However, that issue still is being yet to be ruled on, the specific ramifications of that. So again, I'm denying the motion to reconsider relative to a Rule 806 ruling as to the credibility as to Mr. Duren's right to attack the credibility of that statement as he made it, once that statement is offered into evidence, as a hearsay statement under 8033 as referenced by Attorney Kettles yesterday. And then substantively, I'm allowing it for now, subject to how we end up having the legal ruling on the issue that I flagged last week. Attorney Duren or Spicer, any questions on my rulings with respect to the motion to reconsider?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, an objection duly noted. Anything further, Attorney Kenny or Attorney Kettles, on that issue?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you. And the final housekeeping matter is, just so counsel are aware, when the jury does come in, the first thing I'm going to do is inquire as to whether they have had any media exposure. In the event that they have, we will be taking a break. Okay, anything else before we bring the jury in? Okay, all set.
County Superior Court is now in session. The Honorable Dustin Duren presiding.
Okay, good morning. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, good morning, members of the jury. Thank you for your punctuality. A few quick comments before we get started for the day. I did indicate to you yesterday, as I think that you probably were aware, that there is a media presence during the course of this trial. And one thing I did not state yesterday, but I wanted to bring to your attention and to assure you of, is that one of the standing orders of the court system, it's not just my order, it's the entire New Hampshire Superior Court judicial branch, there is an order relative to the media presence during these proceedings. As you know, it is an open courtroom. But one of the standing orders that is directed to the media is that the jurors' faces are not to be shown as part of the proceedings. So I didn't say that yesterday, and I want to assure you of that, that your, whether it's still photography or whether it's any videos, that you would not be as part of that transmission. I wanted to bring that to your attention. And the second thing I wanted to follow up on is, again, because there is a media presence during this trial, if any of you have had exposure relative to anything in the media in the last 24 hours during the break since yesterday, if you could raise your hand and we'll address that if that has occurred. Okay, please thank you. Please let the record reflect that none of the jury members raised their hand. So I thank you for that, and again, that's going to be a continuing order and instruction to you to, number one, avoid all contact relative to any media representations or coverage as to what's happening here today, and as I said, to please take affirmative steps to avoid inadvertent exposure as well. So I thank you for following my instructions in that regard. Okay? Ready to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Tracy Flaherty. Good morning, ma'am. Could you please raise your right hand?
Good morning.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth under the pain and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Good morning. Could you please tell the jury your name and spell your last name?
Good morning. My name is Tracy Flaherty. First name Tracy, T-R-A-C-E-Y. Last name Flaherty, F-L-A-H-E-R-T-Y.
Ms. Flaherty, where do you work?
I work for the New Hampshire State Police Major Crime Unit. I'm an intelligence analyst.
How long have you worked for the New Hampshire State Police?
I worked for the New Hampshire State Police since 2016. Prior to that, I was an intelligence analyst with the FBI for 16 and a half years. Then I was an analyst with Liberty Mutual, Special Investigations Unit, working medical fraud. And I had my own business for a few years before joining the state police, where I provided training to private investigators and law enforcement on the techniques of intelligence analysis, how it can be used in cold cases and missing persons.
Thank you, Ms. Flaherty. You mentioned that you are an intelligence analyst. We'll keep it specific to the New Hampshire State Police. What do you do for the New Hampshire State Police as an intelligence analyst?
So I assist in major crime investigations. Those are typically homicides. I help generate leads by researching and locating individuals. I also review evidence that's collected. That could be based on a search warrant, so communication records, maybe financial records, social media. I may assist in looking at devices, depending on the needs of the case.
Thank you. Ms. Flaherty, you mentioned locating people. Do you have any experience with New Hampshire State Police or the FBI or any other of your stops on your career in working with cell phone location data?
I do. Since working with state police, I've had training in actual location data that's obtained from communication records from cell phone carriers.
And about how many times would you say you've had the occasion to do that?
Oh, I've testified about 10 times. This is, I think, my 10th trial, and I have probably worked on 75 to 100 different cases that involved communication records, and many of those involve location data.
Could you describe any training you may have with regard to cell phone location data and communications data?
Absolutely. So since joining the state police, I attended a training seminar from the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team, which is called FBI CAS Team. They're an elite team within the FBI that focuses solely on cellular analysis and location data. I've also attended some other courses from them. In addition, I have attended several online classes from their NDCAC, which is the National Domestic Communication Analysis Center, so they have to keep up with the technology. I've also attended training in person and live webinars from a vendor called Cellhawk. They have the software that I use to assist in the mapping.
Okay. So, Ms. Flaherty, you mentioned mapping and using software. Could you explain what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So when it comes to talking about a cell phone and location data, your phone is continuously, in order to use it, it's interacting with cell towers. It needs to connect to an antenna, typically mounted on a tower. You're probably used to seeing them on the highway, those big, large structures. But they can also be an antenna that's mounted on a building or a sign. But anyway, your phone does need to connect to an antenna. And so what we end up doing is every tower has a unique phone number, or ID number, I should say. And within the phone records that we receive, that tells us what tower maybe an event is connected to. So for instance, a call. When you make a call or receive a call and your phone connects to a tower, that tower has a unique number. And in the data, we also have not only that unique number of the tower, but what side of the tower, which helps us give a general direction of where that device is when it's connected to the tower. So either for call detail records, which we received in this case, which is incoming, outgoing calls that are made, or specialized location records, which is engineering data, we actually get those unique ID numbers. And the carrier also provides a list of all the towers and those numbers the sectors, which is that side of the tower that I mentioned, where the antennas are placed, and then how those sectors are orientated. And so by matching that up, and the software helps because it's a volume of data, by matching that up between the two, I can then map that latitude and longitude of the tower that's being used, and then know what side of the tower. And as we'll see in the maps, you can get an idea of general direction of the device and then movement of that device.
Ms. Flaherty, thank you. That's quite a lot of information. I want to back up a little bit. You mentioned that you, in your work, doing this kind of work, generally use communications data. Are there different types of data that you receive related to cell phones?
Yes.
And who provides those?
That would be the mobile carrier. So in this case, it's Verizon.
So someone like Verizon, AT&T, some company
Correct.
like that? And that is data that those companies, is that data that they keep for their own purposes?
Yes. So for billing purposes, they have call records for their subscribers. And for their own business purposes, they have specialized location records that is engineering data that they use to be able to make decisions on coverage, maybe where to put an antenna, how to orientate their antennas, or working on upgrading service in a certain area.
So Ms. Flaherty, you mentioned something called call detail records. What are those?
So call detailed records are similar to your phone bill. It shows calls incoming and outgoing. I'm able to see the date and time of the call, the numbers that are involved in the call. And if we are obtaining call detail records with cell site information, so tower information, then I see that unique number for the tower that's used during that event, along with what side of the tower, so the sector number.
So we'll have a visual in a bit that I think will explain the issue of the size of the tower. So you talked about call detail records. Are you familiar with something called RTT data?
I am.
What is RTT data?
That is the name for Verizon's specialized location records, or their engineering data. Basically, what that is it provides events when your phone is continuously interacting with the towers when it's on. The carrier's taking measurements of the speed of the signal from the tower to the device and back. And so when that measurement's taken, it gives an estimated distance of where that device is from the tower. So we're able to use that and kind of get a better idea of maybe where a device might be.
Ms. Flaherty, in your experience, do cell phone records or communication data also include something called subscriber information?
Yes.
And what is that generally?
That is the individual typically that is paying the bill and is subscribed to the phone, and oftentimes the user of the phone.
Ms. Flaherty, on March 1st of 2024, did you become involved in an investigation involving someone named Dustin Duren?
Yes, I did.
Could you please tell us when that happened that day and how you became involved?
I received a phone call from my team early morning hours, sometime between March 1st before 2:30 a.m. I received a phone call saying that they needed my assistance in initiating an exigency request for location data on a device that was associated with Mr. Duren.
Ms. Flaherty, I'm going to stop you there.
Sure.
I apologize. You mentioned exigency. What is exigency in
So-
your experience?
So exigency is a process that law enforcement is able to use in interacting with a carrier such as Verizon when there's an emergency and a concern for possible danger, death, or bodily harm.
Is exigency a process that's available when perhaps it's not practical to get a search warrant?
Yes, if it's deemed to be an emergency situation, yes.
So in the early morning hours of March 1st, 2024, you told us that you were asked to use the exigency process to do something. Can you tell us what you did?
Sure. So the first thing I did, which is required by Verizon, each carrier kind of has their own method that they want you to interact with. For Verizon, I initiated first calling their emergency hotline, told them the situation, and that I was looking for whether there was a current location on the phone number that I was given.
Okay, was that phone number number 702-280-5090?
Yes, it was.
And is that a Verizon phone number?
Yes, it is.
So when you made that first call with Verizon, what happened?
So they told me that there was no current location on that phone, which indicated to me that that phone was most likely off and not connecting to the cellular network.
So you mentioned that the phone was off, Ms. Flaherty. What are the scenarios where a phone would stop communicating with the network?
If you turn your phone off, if the phone could be destroyed, if you're out of area where there's no signal, no data, then it's possible that it's not connecting to the cellular network.
So at that point, did you know which of those scenarios may have been the case with regard to this telephone?
I did not.
So after receiving that initial information from Verizon that the phone was not communicating, what did you do next?
So then I initiated their emergency disclosure form, which was a request to provide historical information on that device. So, such as asking for the subscriber to just verify the ownership of that device, and then asking for historical call detail records, so those calls, incoming and outgoing activity. Also requested the last known location of that device before it stopped communicating with their network. The request also was for that specialized location data and text detail.
When you mentioned that specialized location data, do you mean that
The RTT, correct.
RTT data? So, again, what time in the morning is this that you submitted this form requesting all this other information?
So I spoke to Verizon around 2:30 a.m. and about 2:45, so 2:45 a.m. was when I submitted the form and received the results back about an hour later, I believe.
What were those results that you received?
So I actually received the historical information, the call detail records, everything that I had requested. They sent back via an email, and it covered the time period of February 29th, 2024 at midnight through March 1st at like 2:30 in the morning.
So roughly about the time.
About the time that I contacted them, yes.
Ms. Flaherty, you mentioned a number of records, including call detail records, subscriber information, and RTT data that were obtained early in the morning.
Yes,
Did the New Hampshire State Police later obtain those records again via a search warrant process?
they did, yes.
And was the data the same that was obtained?
Yes, it covered that time period in a larger time period.
So those records that you obtained through the search warrant that covered the same time period, did you review those records?
I did.
And
Sure, certainly.
Ms. Flaherty, I'm handing you something that's marked for identification at this point that states Exhibit 13 is a thumb drive. Do you recognize that thumb drive?
I do.
Have you reviewed the contents of that thumb drive?
I have.
And what does that thumb drive contain?
This contains the historical call detail records, the subscriber record, and the RTT data that I used to create the visuals today.
So that is the data, some of the data that you received by a search warrant and reviewed?
Yes,
And did you use the data on this thumb drive to create a series of maps?
yes, I did.
Your Honor, at this point, the state moves to introduce Exhibit 13 as a full exhibit.
Certainly.
So, Your Honor, for the record, the state introduced this as a full exhibit.
Over the conditional objection as indicated during the bench, yes, the objection is overruled and the identification may be stricken and it shall be considered a full exhibit.
Thank you. This is Exhibit 13 for the record. May I approach, Your Honor?
Please.
Ms. Flaherty, you told us that you used the data on that thumb drive to create a series of maps. I've handed you a number of documents. The first one is marked States Exhibit 12A for identification. Can you tell us what this is?
Yeah, this is a document that depicts two pictures of a cell tower, your traditional cell tower, with 3 sectors. It's just to demonstrate to the jury the tower and how the antennas are affixed to the tower and orientated.
So this relates to some of your testimony earlier about how the data that you receive involves which side of the cell tower?
Correct.
is communicating?
Correct.
And if you can look at everything else, put that aside, and look at the rest of those, what are those that you're looking at?
These are maps that I created to assist in showing the actual movement of the device on February 29th, 2024.
So when you say the device, do you mean the cell phone associated with
Uh,
data?
Yes, the 702 number.
Okay. The 702 number that you began receiving some of that data in the early morning hours of March 1st?
Yes,
And that's the same data that's on that thumb drive, Exhibit 13?
correct.
Okay. So you have Exhibits 12A, D, as in dog, E, F, H, I, J, K, and M.
Should be. They do not have the exhibit labels on them.
the back of it.
No.
Is it all red? Sticker?
Okay, yeah, this one does. Yeah, this one didn't. Yes, you're correct. Sorry.
With the exception of A, the rest are maps that you created.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you created those maps?
Sure. I had mentioned it a bit earlier. We obtained the data in spreadsheets from Verizon, Excel spreadsheets, and it's a large volume of data. So I enter that into a program by a company called Leads Online. It's called CellHawk, and it assists in doing that matching that I talked about as far as the unique tower number that's in the tower list. I upload that Verizon tower list and matching the tower that's used for each event. So whether that event is a call that takes place within the call detail records, or that event is one of those RTT events where it's actually capturing that estimated distance to tower in the engineering data. And so that helps me visualize and make these maps. And then for quality control, I mean, I look at the raw data, I look at the maps, and I make sure that it is correct.
So, Ms. Flaherty, you mentioned that this data that you use to create these maps includes events, and that a certain event could be something like a phone call. Is that
Yes, yep, so calls, or I typically call an event if it happens to be like an RTT engineering data, date and time event.
I want to ask you about that. When you say that there's an event that is related to RTT or engineering data, is the phone making a call or sending a text message at that point?
Not necessarily. RTT can be captured when the phone's being used, but it's when your phone is continuously interacting with the network and the carrier is actually capturing and measuring that, like I said, that signal speed, so that they can make some decisions when they look at that data for their own business process.
So would it be fair to say that as long as the phone is on, it may be communicating with the cell phone tower?
Correct.
And that is regardless of whether it happens to be in use for a call or a text or something like that?
As long as it's on and the data is available, yes.
And
Tracy
you mentioned-
Fleischer?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Can the witness identify the program that was used? Again, I didn't,
Yes.
if there's the spelling of that program?
Sure, it's CellHawk, CELLHAWK.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Flaherty, you mentioned that you check these maps for quality control. How do you do that?
By looking at the raw data and knowing, understanding the sectors and side of the tower, and then making sure that appears accurate. And I also spot check the Latin longs and make sure that maps correctly.
You said Latin long. Does the raw data that you reviewed that's on Exhibit 13 include latitude and longitude information?
No, the cell site list from the phone company, from Verizon, when they give me the master list of their cell towers, it has the latitude and the longitude for each unique number.
Does the data that you reviewed include latitude and longitude information?
In the in the RTT and the call detail, I believe they have their separate list underneath, yes.
And so you use essentially the latitude and the longitude associated with those events and the timing to help place that phone?
The latitude and longitude of the tower that's in the tower list that's provided in that data is not necessarily in the row of the event is the latitude and longitude, just the unique number match is how we get there.
Okay. And so you did all these quality control and spot checks with regard to the maps that you have here today?
I did.
Your Honor, at this point, the state moves to introduce exhibits 12A, D, E, F, H, I, J, K, and M as full exhibits.
No objection.
The identification may be stricken with respect to those specific exhibits, and they shall be considered as full exhibits.
Ms. Flaherty, you should have a screen right there. I'm showing you what's now marked for, as a full exhibit, states 12A. Could you tell us what this is?
So this is a picture of your traditional cell site or cell tower. Like I said, you can have antennas. You'll see here where the arrows are pointing, those boxes that set some antennas. And so on each side of the tower, you can see it's kind of like a triangle on this particular tower. It's a 3-sector tower. And so there's set some antennas on there. Each of those towers, like I said, has a unique ID number. And that's where your phone, in order to be able to send, receive a call, use your data plan, text messages, you're going to be attaching to an antenna that's mounted on a tower.
And when you mentioned different sides of the tower, this one has 3, correct?
This one has 3, yes.
And how do you use that information about which of those, in this example, 3 towers, when it comes to determining a location?
So in the records, there'll be a column for like a sector, and it'll have a number, like a 1, 2, or 3. If it's like a 3G, you'll see actual sector. If it's an LTE, they're called an E-node-B number, and that'll be part of that number will have the sector, and that tells you what side.
So using the side and some of the other data you mentioned, you're able to help
Tell which side of the tower, yes.
Ms. Flaherty, I'm showing you states exhibit 12D. You see this?
I do.
So this is one of the maps you created. Could you please tell us what you're looking at?
So first, just to draw your eye to the red oval, it has a 1063. That's marking 1063 Main Street. It's the address there. And what we have, all these maps are for the 702 phone number device. And the device is attached to the northern tower from that address. You can see, if you look at where it says 538 to the north.
Ms. Flaherty, perhaps it would be better if you could come down.
Can I? That'd be
Yes, please.
fantastic. Thank you.
Why don't we step right up to this large screen in front of the jury here. And please continue. You were explaining this map to us.
So, oh, thank you. Won't go any further? Okay. I will speak loudly so I can actually maybe point. Okay. So here we have a marker for an address, 1063 Main Street. And here, when I'm talking about that tower I showed you, that picture of a tower, so this orange circle represents that location of a tower. And this wedge here is what just highlights for me the side of the tower that's being used by the device. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the device is in this dark circle here at all. It's just to kind of draw your eye to the side of the tower visually. But what it is saying is that that device is somewhere on the side of this tower. I know confidently that it's not up here because radio waves are not a pie shaped. You know, this is just a visual. That device could be a little bit over here or over here when we're looking at the data. These arcs it represents that estimated distance from the tower that I talked about that I get from the RTT data. It maps an arc, and it basically, as the phone is communicating back and forth with the tower, these arcs are represented. And when you have a lot of lines and it gets darker, it just sits there a long time, you're gonna get a lot of hits when you know the phone is stationary. So that gives me that indication. So here what we have is the device is connecting to this side of the tower at 5:38. It's somewhere along this arc at that time. I can't say 100% where it is along this arc, but I can confidently say that it's somewhere along this arc. Okay?
Ms. Flaherty, just to kind of sum up, so this map depicts which tower this particular cell phone was communicating at about 5:38 p.m.,
Correct.
and that's on February 29th, 2024?
Correct.
And this map is showing the city of Berlin, New Hampshire?
Yes, it is.
And so those arcs that you mentioned are the estimated distance from the tower, so as you mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, that phone could be anywhere on that arc?
That is correct.
And you marked 1063, is that 1063 Main Street in Berlin?
Yes, it is.
And does that appear to be sitting right on one of those arcs?
It is. Yeah.
There's another tower beneath that. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure. So then looking at movement, I looked and you see that 5:38, we have the device connected to this tower. And by 5:57:06, it is now connected down here to this tower on this side, and there are the arcs. That indicates to me a change in tower usage and most likely movement. Okay, so that's how I start to be able to decipher that.
So what time was the phone communicating with that?
And down in Berlin tower is 5:57:06.
And that tower appears to be more in the center of Berlin?
Yes.
We're going to move to the next one. If you can just stay up there. This is State's Exhibit 12F. What are we looking at here?
So we're looking at the same device, all the maps are for the same device. So once again, taking off those estimated distance to tower because it gets really busy, you know, and a lot of lines and circles. So just to simplify it, this is still that engineering data while the phone is moving, but it's just showing you the tower usage and the side of the tower, just removing those lines so it's not so busy. And so when we started with 5:38 up here north of Main Street, and then on that previous map I'd shown you where it was connecting to this side at 5:57. You can see it, then it kind of swings around, it's here, and the device then is connecting to a tower down here more towards the Borum area at 6:26. After that, I noticed that there is actually a connection over east on Route 2, heading towards the Bethel, Maine area. So around from 6:43 to 6:58, the device seems to stay connected over east when it travels.
Ms. Flaherty, are you familiar with the area shown in this map, the Borum, Berlin area?
I am.
And so this map shows connection to a tower at 6:26 p.m., and then another tower further east several minutes later, 6:43 to 6:58. Is that about consistent with the amount of time it takes to drive on Route 2?
In my experience, that's about a 15, 20-minute drive.
You're now looking at States 12E. Please tell us what you see in this, or what this map shows.
So just to continue to orient you, we've moved down to the 6:26. This was over at that time on east on Route 2. And then instead of there's no times, that moves along. And by 7:29, you can see that the device has moved along, and by 7:29, it's connected to tower in Whitefield. So it came back around and started to go south. So by 7:37, the device is connected to a tower down here in Carroll. And then coming further west, you can see they continue down, and by 7:45, that device is using a tower on 93 South in the Franconia area.
Thank you. This is States 12H. Ms. Flaherty, could you please again tell us what the map shows?
Sure. On the left, 93 is so long. You'll see, this is a section of 93. So on the left, we had originally been in Franconia on the previous map, and you can see the device continues to use towers along 93 South, Woodstock, moving forward by 808. It's down here in like the Thornton Campton area, and continuing south using towers at 813. It's down even further south in Plymouth.
Plymouth area?
Mhm.
So now moving to the right side of the screen, there's another map. What is
So
that?
thinking about 93, continuing down, here we have it now 827 in New Hampton, and moving along the different towers, continuing to come down, and by 850, that device starts to use various towers in the Concord area between 850 and 1022.
So we move on ahead.
So,
Sorry, this way, this is 12I for the record. What does this map show?
okay. Now we're back to kind of looking at those estimated distance to tower. Here it was taking a look at the data to see is there any areas once the device got into Concord that maybe it had stopped for a period of time. Thinking at this whole time, the goal is looking for, you know, the device, the children, and Mr. Duren. So at this time, this map shows the device kind of hitting for a period of time, about 852 to 903. And this is a 903 down here. About 852 to 902, you can see this arc hitting. It's in this general area for those few minutes is what I would be able to discern from this. And that's on North Main Street in Concord.
Ms. Flaherty, there's a red logo with a white S on it. What is that?
That's a Speedway. So is a reference of there's a possibility of a place that's kind of where the lines crossed. There was this Speedway there.
And Speedway is a gas station?
Yes, it is.
And so just before we move on, what time frame does this map cover?
So this covers from the north, we're around between 9 o'clock, and you can see down, this is 9:01, but the estimated distance is way down here. So it's 9 o'clock to about 9:03. Here it's 8:56. So the total time would be about 8:52 to 9:03.
Thank you. Looking now at State's Exhibit 12J, please tell us, first of all, where this is and what it shows.
So this is still in Concord. It's now on South Main Street. This was another location where I had indicated that it appeared that the device may have stayed for a period of time. Just north was that 903 that you saw in the previous map. By 906, it was here until 928. So this is what we would call an omni tower. That's why you have a circle. So basically, that's a one-sided tower where the antennas can cover the 360 degrees rather than a three-sector tower where each sector covers about 120 degrees.
So, Ms. Flaherty, does this tower show essentially from about, you said 906 to?
About 928, it was in that general area.
Phones in this general, and this is south of where we were
Yes.
previously?
Yep, still moving south.
South in the city of Concord, New Hampshire?
Yes.
So this is State's 12K. First, could you tell us what this map shows in terms of location and time?
So this is still in Concord, now in the vicinity of between South Main Street and Hall Street. This is also RTT data, but without the lines because the device sat here for a period of time. It was extremely busy to show all of the lines. So basically from 9:58 to 10:22, that device was connected to this tower here, the 61909 tower near South Main Street, and had about 27, those RTT, I call them events, right? So 27 hits, so it was stationary there for a period of time. While there, it was bouncing off of this Omni tower between 10:05 and 10:15.
So, Ms. Flaherty, again, could you tell us the time frame of when that phone was connected?
This would be
to
9:58 to 10:22.
And is this location Concord further south?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Flaherty, on the left side of this
So in looking at the call detail records, there was a call while this device was connected to this tower. So this information is coming from the call detail records, that whole call activity, that matched up with the usage of this 61909 tower for Sector 2. You can see that last number is the 2, that's the sector number. And so this would be an outgoing call from the 702 number to a 763 number. That was at 10:08 p.m. while the device was in this area, and that call lasted 13 minutes and 36 seconds.
So that call was listed 10:08,
Yes, it was.
and was that an outgoing call from that 702 phone number?
It was.
Can you read us that number?
So the call number was a 763-350-0954.
And the number that made the call, what number
Was
was that?
the 702-280-5900.
And that 702 number that made the call, is that the number associated with the phone?
Yes, it is. It's the number that is connected to this tower.
How long did that call last?
13 minutes and 36 seconds.
And this is the last one. Ms. Flaherty, can you tell us what we're looking at here?
So this here is RTT data. This is from the raw data, just to show you, this is the last actual event on that device before it went off. And it matches the time that we had received from the phone company as to the time that the last location for the device, which is the morning of, or the evening of February 29th, 2024 at 10:22:30 p.m.
So 10:22 p.m. on February 29th, this phone, that 702 number, stopped communicating with cell phone
It
towers?
did.
Ms. Flaherty, you can please return to stand. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Flaherty. The state has no more questions.
Okay, all right, thank you. Counsel?
All rise for the honorable jury. Lewis County Superior Court is again in session. The Honorable Jonathan S. Frizzell presiding.
Thank you, please be seated. And Ms. Flaherty, you're still in row.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Morning, Ms. Flaherty.
Good morning.
So as part part of your investigation, you received records first from Verizon through the exigency process, correct?
That is correct.
And then later on, you received records from the search warrant?
That is correct.
And the search warrant records did include a longer duration of time, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the first records were only February 29th to March 1st, less than 24
Less than
hours.
24 hours, correct.
Okay. And the second set were about a month or?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And when you received the records from the search warrant, you reviewed all those, correct?
I reviewed the records I needed to for location data.
Okay, and can I approach Your Honor with Defendant's Exhibit B for ID only?
Certainly.
I'm showing you what's been marked at Defense B for ID.
Right.
Does that look like the records that you received from Verizon?
That is, yes, that's, let me scroll down, I just want to,
Yes.
thank you. Yes,
Okay,
yep.
that's quite
I
a
want-
bunch.
It is a lot of records, yes.
To include the device that we're talking about, the 702 number 5900 ending phone call records, correct?
Yes, yes, the historical call detail records, correct.
And text messages, correct?
There was content and text detail, which is just the numbers that are texting back and forth, correct.
Your Honor, may we approach? So, Ms. Flaherty, you reviewed some of the records. Did you review the any of the SMS content records in your analysis?
So not in my analysis, no. I did note that there was SMS content provided. It's not always provided. I noted that verbally to my team, that it was available. My focus was on location.
Okay. And when you noted it was provided, did you open it up and look at it, or did you just see the headline on the?
I opened it up to make sure that there was actually content visible, that it was there, yes.
This spreadsheet, let me go back for a second on my file here. This preserved redacted SMS content spreadsheet is the document that you opened and looked at to confirm there was SMS
Content available, yes. If you go to the right, that's where you should see content. Correct.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, may we approach? Flaherty to confirm, the documents that you received from Verizon through the search warrant request included, amongst other things, SMS content.
That is correct.
And SMS is text messages?
Yes, it's short message service, yes, text messages.
Okay, and you did open up the file to confirm,
To make sure it was populated, and then I let my team know, yes.
okay, populated meaning,
Meaning that there was actual content. Sometimes they say no results, but I wanted to make sure that there was actually something there.
okay, thank you. I would like to show you what's on State's Exhibit. I have your number. US 13. Your Honor, I'd like to publish States 13 and have Ms. Flaherty step down to the screen, the large screen.
Let me just see what we're publishing.
Certainly. So 13 is a full exhibit, and you've confirmed what you're going to publish?
Yes.
Okay. All right, certainly. Thank you.
Can you see the highlighted row right there? Okay, and that's 46, yes, line 46, and it shows you that the cell phone 702-280-5900, the cell phone that we have been talking about, correct?
Yes.
Dialed 603-752-3131 on February 14th, 2024.
On the 14th, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have no more questions, thank you.
You're right. Okay, can Ms. Flaherty be excused?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
The state calls Justin Rowe.